Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to host another episode of Conversations at IIAS with the beautiful guest, Dr. Jeanette Epps.
You're
She's an
so
American astronaut, aerospace engineer, and former CIA technical intelligence officer. Born in Syracuse, New York, she earned a physics degree from Lemoyne College and a master's and
wow.
PhD in aerospace engineering from the University in Maryland. Before NASA, she works as a research engineer at Ford, where she even earned some patents and
Mhm.
spent 7 years working at the CIA as a technical intelligence officer. Selected as an astronaut in 2009, she launched on SpaceX Crew 8 in March 2024 and spent 235 days aboard the International Space Station as a flight engineer. She retired from NASA in May 2025 after nearly 16 years of service.
Yeah.
Welcome, Janet. Please correct me if I made some information that I
Oh
like.
no, you were perfect. Absolutely perfect. No, absolutely perfect. Thank you for such a lovely introduction.
My pleasure. So, Janet, what we do here is just having a conversation with a series of questions,
Yeah.
and then it's like conversation. That's the intention here today to spend a wonderful day, and hopefully a lot of us can learn so much about you. I'm gonna start with the first question that I have for you, and this is before astronaut, you were a physicist, then an aerospace engineer, then a patent holder at Ford, which is impressive. What first pulled you towards space, and when did the idea to start this career feel possible rather than just a dream?
Well, so as a kid, so I had a twin sister. My twin sister unfortunately passed away. Her name was Janet. She and I, as we were growing up, we our parents weren't scientists or engineers, but they allowed us to dream, and I mean dream big. And I think becoming an astronaut as a kid, when someone said that to me, it was always um, very, very unobtainable. So when my brother presented that idea of like, he looked at our grades and he was like, "Oh gosh, you guys are doing well in math and science. You can become aerospace engineers. Maybe even an astronaut." The astronaut idea was far from my brain. I said, "But I can become an aerospace engineer." I didn't even quite know what it was. At 9 years old, I was just like, "My brother said I can do it. I'm gonna do it." And for some reason, that seed stuck in my brain. And so when I ended up going to undergrad at Lemoyne College, they didn't have an engineering program, but what they had was a physics engineering program.
Yes.
So I was supposed to spend 3 years doing physics at Lemoyne and then go on to an engineering school. I actually decided to just finish 4 years in engineering with the Jesuits and then go on to graduate school. And so, physics was great. I mean, I didn't realize that I had, while I was there, I don't have it anymore, but while I was there, I had a talent for physics. It wasn't perfect, but it was a passion. And I didn't realize that I had it then. But that translated over into getting into the University of Maryland and applying to the aerospace program, convincing my advisor that I was the best student he could possibly ever get, and he actually accepted me, and he challenged me that, "Hey, I'm going to give you a chance, but you have a lot of work to do." And thank God I was able to do it all. I don't think Dr. Chopra would have let me stay if I hadn't finished all that work, but it was a good challenge, and I was up for it.
Fantastic. I see that you were one out of seven siblings. Is that correct?
That is correct. I was number
And who
seven.
was the brother that taught you about this challenge?
It was my brother Michael. He's second from the oldest. He's 10 years
Okay.
older than me.
Also an engineer?
No, actually, he was at the Rochester Institute for Technology, but he ended up graduating with a BS, a Bachelor's of Science in Finance.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
years ago.
Science runs in the family, science and engineering, or it's
I would say curiosity runs in the family.
the
Yes, I would say definitely say curiosity, and as kids, reading was like the thing. You read everything. So
encouraged by your parents, or also the siblings were very much readers, sharing books at the house, having a
well,
big library.
it was more for my oldest brother who was away in the military, and he sent home lots of books for us, including an encyclopedia set. So it came from
Wow.
everybody. And my dad, he was a construction worker, and he would go in and demolish houses to rebuild them. And like some of the houses had tons of books, like a bunch of bound Reader's Digest that he would bring home, and you read all these beautiful stories in these books. So
Wow, that's
yeah,
beautiful. It
yeah,
takes a certain type of personality to read encyclopedias. You can tell a lot from people that read them. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those, but much respectful for people who encourage and immerse themselves in big books. So
yes,
I bet you learn a lot from just that
so
pastime
much,
in
so
your
much.
recent years. Okay, you spent 7 years at the CIA as a technical intelligence officer. This
Yes.
was before NASA. What did that chapter teach you that later served you as an astronaut?
Oh wow. So one of the beautiful things about working there, and every country has their own interests. In the U.S., no different. Everyone has their own interests, but the quality of the people that work there, they really some of the best professionals I've ever worked with in trying to do the right thing, number one. So like I always tell people that I volunteered to go to Iraq, but is because I was inspired by everyone around me who wanted to do the right thing, wanted to know the truth, and really run things to ground to figure it out for the good, not necessarily for just the interest of the US. So it's really for the good and understanding the truth and trying to move forward from there. And so I learned a ton about myself. And one of the things is like being able to go to a war zone and perform and be okay with that and thrive and do everything that you need to do. It taught me a lot about myself. And being out in the field, one of the things that I always tell students, I tell them about being operational and being technical. And so being technical means that like you can be the scientist in the lab and you could design any kind of aircraft, but you may not be able to fly it. And you can be the operator who can fly anything, but you can't necessarily design it. And to me, it was those characteristics that came together that I thought made a good astronaut, because you got to be very technical as an astronaut, but you also have to be able to perform in a I call it a high threat jet. In the T-38 jet, you got to be able to perform robotics, spacewalks. You got to be present in those moments to be able to perform at a high level. And even though you may be slightly uncomfortable, you still have to be comfortable with that. So you have to be comfortable with being slightly uncomfortable and perform at a really high level. So that's one of the things I think the agency taught me. I mean, we did a lot of really cool things, and there were boring times, but there were amazing times too. But being able to perform under duress, I call it duress, but just being able to perform under, when you're slightly uncomfortable is really important.
I believe I've seen you in an episode of the Space Explorers for Felix and Paul in the VR headset. I'm pretty sure I saw you flying those airplanes, the T-38s.
Yes, you did. It's awesome. You've
Is
seen
that
that.
one of your favorite ones?
It was, the flying the jet or Felix and Paul. They were amazing. Yeah,
Of
that
course.
was flying the jets is just something that a civilian cannot imagine. And to get the chance to do that as an aerospace engineer, even as a
Yes.
fighter aircraft analyst, to be able to get into the jet and fly the jet is just, there's no words that I can describe. I thought
That's
that I would
fantastic.
miss it once I retired, but I mean, I ended up with only like 870 hours in the jet, but it was amazing. And I do miss it, but I get the difficulties and the challenges with having civilians in back seats.
I can imagine that. And you say likely just 800 hours, but for me, that's a lot. It must be beautiful experiences. And yes, going back to Felix and Paul, I even had the chance to put it up to astronaut Winston Scott. He was
Yeah,
almost crying out because he never went to the ISS, and that is super immersive. So he was very excited about recognizing that.
he built the station though for us. So
Wow.
that's the thing. Those guys were the lead up to building my home. my former home.
Yes.
So
And joining the CIA, who helped you towards doing that application? I believe back then it was a small percentage of women in those type of jobs. Was that correct? What type
you
of challenges did you expect?
No, you are absolutely correct. What ended up happening was I was recruiting for the Ford Motor Company at Florida State, and the gentleman next to me happened to be recruiting for the CIA, which was like unheard of, right? And so we swapped cards, and he ended up like calling me, and I thought it was like just kind of like a joke, but he was very serious. This happened to be in 2001. And so, it was at the time that 9/11 happened. And so, like, on the day that 9/11 happened, I was supposed to fly to DC for an interview, and that didn't happen. But I mean, I was very, very fortunate to come on board in 2002 to join the mission.
Some people call it destiny.
I
We
think
heard about it just by some individual, random individual. Yes, I think it was meant to be.
I agree. Definitely agree with that.
Uh, you also completed some analog missions, I believe in Nemo and Caves, some of the most demanding analog astronaut missions out there. What did those environments teach you that no classroom could? Honestly, I do not remember which one is Caves. I believe Nemo was in the Keys in South Florida,
Exactly.
underwater.
Correct.
Okay.
You are absolutely correct. When I first saw and heard that the astronaut office does Nemo and that you live underwater, I was completely intrigued. I was willing to do whatever it took to get to that mission because for some reason, I don't know what drew me to that one, but it was one of the most otherworldly things that I've done. And it turns out Caves was equally otherworldly. Um, so the analog missions are important because it simulates what you would do if you were off planet. So there's real world consequences for every event that you do. Living underwater, 50 feet deep, you're at about 2.5 atmospheres. You become saturated with nitrogen. So you can't just leave the habitat and resurface. You can actually die. And so these were missions that I thought were so intriguing. You're kind of like you're in a space mission. You can't leave the habitat. You basically have to. You've got 9 days. 9 days may as well be 90 days if you're underwater and you can't leave. Can you imagine being there with people who you don't like? It may as well be a lifetime.
How
But
many people were there?
so it was there were six of us. It was
Okay.
Aki Hoshide was our commander. Mark Vandehei, he was a colonel in the army. Thomas Pesquet from the European Space
Yeah.
Agency. And then we had two habitat techs and myself. So I'm just the only girl in there. And the funniest part is it never dawned on me that I was the only girl in there until young ladies actually brought it up. But that is the mindset you have to have. You have to have the mindset that you're a crew member. You're in there just like everyone else. You better be doing the same job and the same tasks as the guys are because you're a crew member. You're not the woman on the team, if that makes sense to everyone watching, but you are a part of the team. You are a crew member. You do the
Absolutely.
same things. And so we had such a wonderful time. But by the end, I was like the big sister that they harassed and harangued the whole time. We had a wonderful time in underwater. And we did all the work and all the tasks that were required of us. We had a wonderful time. And then, doing caves subsequent to that, cave was probably the most rigorous and probably had the greatest consequences immediately of any analog event that I've ever done. But that's how the analog missions go. It's you and your team and your crew against everything else, and you have to perform your tasks. But primarily, you got to work together as a team, go in as a team, do the task, and come out as a team. So your primary goal is team care, self care, and then the mission, and that's how you learn it. It's team care, self care, and the mission. And I know people are like, well, team self-care has to come first because you have to take care of yourself. But I think too many of us, it's like we're the people on the plane that they have to tell, hey, put the mask on yourself before you put it on the kid, because you
Yes,
want to take care of your crew. But if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your crew.
because that's something very big that you actually learn in these type of environments. I got the chance of joining an analog mission at NASA in Building 7. It was like 5 months ago, back in March,
Yeah.
under pressure. It was exploration atmosphere for the Artemis program. So I
Awesome.
can see a lot of things that you understand and experience and learn about these type of environments, supporting Artemis, supporting the moon missions, and learning about those physiological aspects. So I believe it was something regarding the same of scuba diving under pressure, having the vents or avoiding the vents for being under pressure for a longer period of time. And I see some people that are commenting right now related to these, that they have had the opportunity of doing some analog missions. And under our program at IIAS, we train a lot of our students through analog and bioastronautics programs. From your experience, what's the honest gap between analog training and the real thing? Where does analog training earns its keep? I know you're the only one that could actually answer this question.
Well, you know what's so weird is that there were several times when I was floating through the station when I felt like I was scuba diving. And so, but having that mindset of experiencing these things beforehand, the beautiful thing that it does for you is it gives you a level of familiarization so that when you get there, you have all these other things. Your body's changing, the food is different. You have to, and this, you have to learn how to use the WHC, which is not hard, very easy, but you have other things you need to worry about. And so when you have so many things that are familiar, it is the best feeling in the world. So a lot of things that the analog missions taught me was how to be on a crew, how to be on a team, and how to make sure you're taking care of yourself, but also making sure you take care of your team. Regardless of how you feel about them, if this is your community, these are the only people you have. I don't care if someone got on your nerves an hour ago. If anything happens in that instant, all of it's forgotten. You are working together as a team, and you're a high performing team. That is what matters in especially on orbit. We had a couple of emergencies that happened, and it's in those instances when you realize that your community are the people around you. You have the ground who can talk to you, but they really can't do much for you. They can, there's some things that they can do, but it's your immediate family that counts in those moments. And you want to make sure they're well and taken care of. When Tracy Dyson had the leak in her umbilical, and when she was attempting to do a spacewalk, I was in me. I think it was everyone sent me notes afterwards. They were like, "You looked so worried. You looked like you were." Well, of course, I was worried about my colleague and friend, and she had so much experience. And this is where I have to credit Tracy with being a badass, because somehow she got that leaking umbilical back attached to her suit. She got that hatch closed, and they got the airlock repressed, and we got them back in. And to me, that was a miracle day. But that is the training, that is the understanding and the training that you go through.
Wow, what a story. And some people, I believe, tend to suffer more for your loved one, just as maybe the parents, the family, your siblings watching you on a rocket before departing on
Hmm.
launch day. I believe they suffer more than the actual person that is aboard that huge bomb and propellant going about to launch. So
Yeah.
I believe that speaks a lot about you, caring about your crewmate that is experiencing this. And it's beautiful how the team can comprehend what happened and all of it learn together and helping out each other. And I also, going back to your early days, I believe you also learn a lot about team building or working with a lot of people around you. Having 7 siblings, I believe the brotherhood it can be very interesting, especially men. I also have sisters, and I loved giving them a hard time.
Yeah,
So maybe
exactly.
you also experience that.
Well, yeah. Well, my fallback is like, look, I'm one of seven. I can, yeah, I've dealt with this before. It's all
Yeah,
good because you don't
yeah.
always love your brothers and sisters, but you love them, if you know what I mean.
Maybe you learn a lot about that at home
Ex-
on how to be in a closed environment in space.
Exactly. Exactly right.
And Janet, you spent 235 days aboard the ISS. That wasn't great. I believe that's considered a long-term duration. Honestly, I don't know what's a long term, what's a normal term.
Well, so
What's a
everyone is
number?
180 days is what they usually do now. It's like 180 days is what the norm. But since Jared Isaacman has come on board to NASA, they've changed things a little bit because we've got to man the space station and we've got to get to the moon. So like Chris Williams just spent 8 months on board the ISS,
Okay.
and that was by plan. Mine wasn't planned, but that was by the
Oh,
plan, and that's because we really need to man the station, but we really have to work on getting to the moon, and getting to the moon is our primary goal. We don't have the shuttle anymore to like refurb and spend money on that, thank God. So majority of our funding goes towards getting to the moon, staying on the moon, developing a presence there, and then using everything we learn from there to get to Mars.
absolutely. And these changes to have more cadence and
Yeah,
for the team in on the ground to learn more about these cycles. Is that correct?
that is correct. That is very correct.
And
But
now it's changing from 180 to about 2 weeks, a
it's
month.
it's gonna go up to probably about somewhere between 200 and 240 days on the space station.
Understood. And what surprised you the most about long duration spaceflight once you were actually living it?
I was surprised at how something so cool could all of a sudden become so routine that you're like, oh yeah, this is my house, this is my home. And so leaving was like, it was hard because it's like you're leaving your home. But
Yeah.
it, it's a struggle to make sure that something so cool doesn't become mundane. You want to make sure it always stays cool.
Having that cupola underneath the gymnasium, is that correct?
Right in front of, yeah, exactly. The A red is right in front of the cupola. So as you're lifting weights, you're doing your squats and deadlifts, you can look out and see the planet roll by you.
The ultimate view. What were your best moments there? What were there in the cupola, or is there another special window that you also reminisce?
Oh, so there's so many different ways to look at the planet. So we do have the windows in the Japanese module, the gem, and we also have the wharf as well. But some of the coolest times for me were when I could show people how their planet looks as I was talking with them. So I had my iPad, and I had Teams on there, or telemedicine software where you have audio and visual.
Yeah.
And I float to the cupola and I show them out the window. And all of a sudden, like every time starts to feel mundane to me, I have people look at it with fresh eyes, and the silence and the awe that I can feel from them was everything.
Wow.
Yeah. So I talk to a lot of people from orbit just because I love to like wow people, and I wanted to see their reaction to seeing like, no, that is the Earth floating by you right now.
No way. That is impressive. How where are we are here living in the future, doing
Yeah.
FaceTime on the ISS outside of the planet in
The
real
secret,
time. That's
yeah, the
impressive.
secret is I had WhatsApp on my iPad too, but I couldn't tell everyone because then I
Yes. I experienced about the same inside the analog mission. They gave us a special laptops and they're restricted. So it was only Teams, not very open to speak with the family.
that is
And what did a normal workday look like up there? And was there a moment that changed how you saw Earth or yourself?
so a normal work day was it started I would wake up around 6:30 or so, and I'm just kind of hanging out in my hooch, my little crew quarters, brush my teeth. I do like, I mean, there's no shower, so you kind of take baby wipes and you kind of do a quick wash up, put on your clothes, and then Around 7, you go out, have breakfast. Around 7:15, 7:30, we have our daily planning conference with the ground. And then right after that, you go into the schedule that they've outlined for you.
Yes.
So on the ground, they have an operations planner, ops planner, and they schedule everything for you. So even your exercise is on your schedule. So you in the morning, you may have several experiments that you're running. You may have a maintenance task. You may have to change out the pre-treat tank and the WHC. You may have something with the CDRA, the carbon dioxide removal assembly. It could be anything. Or you may have an experiment where it's an all-day experiment where you have to take apart the combustion integration rack and install new items to go through this combustion process. You may have the immunity assay experiment where you have to take your blood, then you have to go through the whole day and process it, and then you have to do the incubation and the centrifuge of that. Or like we had the thigh cuff experiment where we were doing it all day long, and you had to do a bunch of ultrasounds, you had to do a bunch of ocular, the tomography test for your eyes. I mean, it could be the full day. And then in the middle, you kind of have to try to grab lunch somewhere in there, but you have to get your exercise in. So you have 2.5 hours for exercise, but that includes the advanced resistive exercise device and some 30 minutes of cardio. And then you have the time included in that time is the getting your into your workout clothes and then washing up and getting into your regular clothes as well. So every day on our calendar, if we would get an exercise. So out of 233 days actually on the space station, I exercise 194 of those days. And so
Wow.
on your calendar every day. So your calendar is pretty full.
Yes.
And then your day really doesn't end until about 7 o'clock in the evening when you have your evening planning conference with the ground. And that's where you go over everything that was done during the day, questions that we had throughout the day that we didn't get answered, would get answered or deferred. And so it pretty much is a 12-hour day. And then
Yeah, Janet, you just unpacked a lot of information. I have so many questions, so I'm
good.
gonna go with a couple of them. This is quite a full schedule on a normal day. First off, can you pick and choose those tasks? Can you change them between another colleague? Can you put them for tomorrow, some of them?
It depends. It really depends. But in general, no, because you have your schedule, and the other person may have something on their schedule that they can't change, and it's
Yeah.
hard. Really, most of the experiments, almost 99% of them, interchangeable with a crew member. Any crew member can do them. Um, and so I may have a task on a given day, but then other people have a similar task that's even more weighty for them. They may have to change out the cat reactor. I may have to change
Okay.
out the combustion integration rack. There's a material science lab in the ESA that they may, or the fluid science lab. There's all kind of different things on orbit each person has responsibility for.
And regarding the 2 hours of exercise, can you do 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour late, or it has to be compounded?
No, you're absolutely right. That's the one thing that's flexible. So we
Okay.
did on our timelines, we have some activities that are flexible, but some tasks are time dependent because you may have a principal investigator on the ground that needs to like be on call for that. Like we were on Greenwich Mean Time, and we worked a lot with the guys in Huntsville, Alabama, as well as
Yes.
in Cologne in Germany or even in Japan. So because the time difference, some things were flexible, some things we could not change because that was the only time we would get a principal investigator there. We can ask questions, we can work through the experiment with that principal investigator.
On that exercise routine, did you have a favorite one, like first thing in the morning, or it was always random?
I
What about
love
you?
doing exercise in the morning. I wasn't as early as Butch or Sunny. They were like at the crack of like 5:30 a.m. It's not a crack of dawn when you're on station because it's like you get every 90 minutes you're getting sunrise. But 8 a.m., yes. If I can do my exercise first, that was always cool. Or if I had an experiment that took 5 hours, I would love to do that first, and then
Yes.
afterwards do the exercise.
Understood. Yeah, tackle that and have a fresh mindset, more oxygen into the brain.
Exactly.
And regarding the last question I have for the scheduling, that debriefing that you had at the end of the day, was that individual or was that like after dinner in a team? How was that?
It was before dinner as a team. And
Okay.
so, yeah, we go through all the discussions. We would talk with Houston first, then we have Huntsville um, with the Marshall Space Center. Then we go to Cologne, Germany for the ESA. Then we go to JAXA, and then after that, then the Roscosmos would have a debrief with
Wow,
the cosmonauts.
that's packed. It was about 30 minutes.
Oh gosh, it could last anywhere from 10 minutes to 30, 40, 50 an
That
hour.
is a lot. I'm surprised because it was about the same on the analog mission that I did for NASA. It was
Yeah.
always before dinner.
Yes, exactly.
The entire
So,
team just having.
so the team is eager to get off of there because it's like right before dinner, right before our party, or whatever we were going to do for the day.
I guess it's the hardest on the people that do the spacewalks. I guess they return starving.
They do, and so that's why they have a great breakfast. They do have only 32 ounces of water, but as soon as they get out of there, there's like, hey, here's a granola bar, here's a Cliff bar, and all the talking you have to do. It is a lot, and
Yeah, I
so
was I was feeling like a dinosaur after because we were also doing 8-hour EVAs, 6 hours of exercise. The other ones was just pre-breathing. We were practicing the EVAs in the moon,
yeah,
so we didn't have breakfast. So only those breaks that NASA gives you
yeah. Oh, those
packed.
just like the
I
soup
ended
that
up
they give the little
liking some.
bite.
Yeah, the banana nut and the other ones
Oh,
that are nuts, but it was interesting. And now they are even developing other type of food, HLS food, which is
oh.
bigger, and it was nice. But
Hopefully
yeah,
they
very
have an
interesting.
energy drink with some kind of electrolytes in there.
Yeah,
Because
so they can
the
keep on.
muscles, you need some potassium and things like that. So, I mean, I think they're going about it in a really succinct and a good manner because having a little bit of electrolytes, staying alert and staying on task in an EVA for 6 hours,
Yeah,
especially if you're so like in the pool, if you become negatively buoyant, your muscles are feeling every weight of the suit and the water,
okay,
and you wear yourself out so fast. And so, like in a real spacewalk, you kind of do the same thing because you're fighting inertia. And so it's for the
yeah,
same thing for different reasons. And so you really do need like some kind of electrolytes to like reignite your muscles to
true.
keep you alert and strong to go and finish the tasks.
It's a lot of time. What do you think it's the average for spacewalks?
Oh, so the average is probably so usually we plan 6 hours. Um, but most people want to, when they get outdoors, they want to finish the task. So it's always over 6 hours outside. And this is after that long pre-breathe. So yeah, it can be a lot of time. And during pre-breathe, I think some people do have like a granola bar in the airlock
Yeah.
with them or something like that because you have to do something. You're starving, absolutely starving. So it's difficult because pre-breathe is so important to avoid getting the bends, and it's hours. It's a lot of time that you have to spend
It's
doing.
a lot of time. That's one of the actual research items that they were doing for this analog. They want to reduce that for less than 30 minutes in the moon, so
Ooh.
less pressure in the habitat in the moon base, and also less pressure in the spacesuit. So we hopefully can learn more about that and make them faster.
Well, hopefully, like one of the things they used to do is sleep at 10 psi, and you wake up and you
Wow,
spacewalk. So
like the
you
high altitude mountaineering people that train like that, right?
exactly.
Going for the Everest. Have you
It, I,
done any high altitude mountain?
pardon?
Have you done high altitude mountaineering yourself?
No, I've only done like Wenatchee Forest, and I've done like rock climbing there, but that wasn't very high.
Okay.
And I've done like Mauna Loa, climbed that a little bit. So I haven't done the high altitude. That is, I think that's great training because I don't think it's a bad idea to kind of sleep at 10 to psi and then go off and do it. It could save a lot, and I mean, you can make
Yeah.
mistakes during the pre-breathe process, the whole in suit light exercise protocol, and say something doesn't go right, you have to like put the like maybe it's the Medox canister that doesn't
Okay.
go in properly. You find a leak or something. So there's all kind of things that can
Yeah.
happen during the in-suit light exercise protocol before you go out.
Yeah, like having a different sleeping quarters at another pressure, just like you are mentioning. So there's always
Yep.
another creative things that we can do in those procedures that we can learn about. But at the same time, it's always comes with a cost. It's a balance.
It
What
is.
are you giving out?
Yep. Pure
And
oxygen too is the other problem. Yeah.
Jeanette, you came up as an engineer first. How did that training shape the way you're problem solving high stakes, no room for error environment like the ISS? Where do you think you learned the most in what type of work prior to the actual NASA being selected?
Well, I would tell you, being a graduate student at the University of Maryland, and I'm glad you asked that because I'm actually wearing my Maryland shirt. One of the things that it taught me is how to work with your hands, how to build your own models, how to troubleshoot and figure things out and make it work, building it yourself. Because one of the things, I'm on orbit and I'm like, I learned all of this being a graduate student, building my own models and putting things together,
Wow.
taking it apart, was incredibly important because that's what you do on orbit. We don't have time to develop research projects on orbit. So a lot of things are upmasked to us by other scientists. And those scientists
Okay.
trust us with their projects to put them together properly, take them apart properly, and do whatever tasks they need. And a lot of it is all about understanding tools, understanding how things go together, understanding the right things to ask of the PIs, and like, why did you put it together this way instead of this way? You may even give them some ideas for future projects. So, being a graduate student taught me everything I needed to know to be successful in performing the experiments and maintenance tasks on orbit.
Yeah, some people say that you actually connect the dots after. When
Exactly.
you are in your own path, you don't understand, and then you look back and you were like, "Oh, okay. All of this brought me to this very special place."
Yeah, it seems like your life was meant to be there, right? And because everything you did just led to that point.
Like the CIA story or the shirt that you are wearing right now
Yeah,
of what they taught you in the
exactly.
university. Your path wasn't the traditional one. What barriers do you have to work around, and what do you wish more people understood about who gets to become an astronaut?
Well, so I was never working towards becoming an astronaut. I was doing things that I wanted to do and that I was passionate about. And I learned a ton of stuff about everything. I could work on anything while at the CIA. I worked on tons of different things while at Ford Motor Company. And my life was just moving forward, and I was living the career that I wanted.
Okay.
And getting into the astronaut corps was the icing on top of everything. So I wasn't making my life a life that was designed to go to space. It was more designed for me in living my life to the fullest.
Did somebody give you that advice, or did you decided to design that around you?
Well, it's so funny because I never thought I would ever get selected to be an astronaut. So no one told me that. I was just doing the things that I wanted to do. And I,
Wow.
I hope that a lot of people get that, and they're living the lives that they would live if they never got into the astronaut corps.
I love that advice. I don't remember where did I read it in an astronaut book, but I think that's the best advice that you can give somebody wanting to do that. Otherwise, you might waste your life. Being the fact that
Yeah,
it's something that it's less than 1% of population, maybe a lot less than that actually, less than
exactly,
800 astronauts selected.
exactly.
But that's a beautiful advice. And how do you came to apply for that
Well,
to become an astronaut?
Well, one of the things that I did was, well, actually, the reason that I applied was because Leland Melvin called me in
Okay.
2008, and he said that, hey, we're accepting applications this year. You may want to apply. And mind you, like Leland Melvin was at the University of Maryland in graduate school with me at the
Okay.
same time. And like, okay, I'm going to age myself a little bit, 1994, 95 timeframe. And he and a bunch of people that I knew there, he wasn't one of them, but there were a bunch of other people that were applying for the astronaut corps. And they were amazing people, but they weren't getting in. And so I didn't know why they were applying. I'm like, of course they
Wow.
hard. It's like you need like some kind of, I don't know how you get selected. It's like, and so these amazing people weren't getting in. And, Leland Melvin left University of Maryland and subsequently was selected. And then he called
Wow.
me years later and said, hey, we're accepting applications.
Okay.
And the main thought that went through my head was that, hey, I'm getting older. I may never ever have a chance to ever apply again. I may as well just do it, see what it's all about. And even if I don't get in, it'll be fun to just find out what's going on there.
Absolutely. Was he your classmate?
Well, he was in the mechanical engineering department. I was in the aerospace department. So he wasn't a classmate, but he was doing cool things that kind of overlap with some of the things that were going on in the aerospace engineering
Yeah.
department. Yeah.
So prior to his recommendation and his invitation for you to apply, did you had that in your mind? Were you ever
No,
intrigued about in
I hadn't
childhood?
even thought about it. That was
Wow.
the best
No
part
way.
about it. It wasn't until 2008, and I was like, "Yeah, I may as well apply." And after having worked at the agency, I kind of felt like I might be a little bit more competitive, and maybe who knows. And even if I don't get in, it'll be fun to just find out what's going on in the astronaut program.
Yeah. Again, I'm gonna use the same word. This was meant to be. It was in your destiny.
I think so too. And hindsight is 2020. And after flying, and being here now, I can say I think you're right.
Were you already a scuba diver, a private pilot
No, no,
prior
not
to?
at
No.
all. Not at all. The funny thing is, I was so busy with work. I was actually working on a private pilot's license at Freeway Airport here in Bowie, Maryland.
Okay.
And I was working so much, and I lived in Fairfax, Virginia. My mom and my sister lived down here in Bowie, Maryland. And
Okay.
so I wanted to get back here, and I was just, as an aerospace engineer, just learning to fly.
Nice.
And
Yes.
so I wasn't doing a whole lot of that. It was just a kind of a casual hobby, and that was it.
And then a few months after, just flying around T-38.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing.
That's
Oh,
impressive. Slightly different than I recently re-saw the movie of A Million Miles Away from the Mexican astronaut,
oh
Jose
yeah,
Hernandez, and
yeah.
that was hard. Applying 12 times to get selected.
It's a passion, and but see, that's the thing. When you really have a dream and you know it's for you, you have to keep going, and you don't know what you every time you apply, what it is that you're being prepared for. And so there was something inside Jose that said, no, this is actually for you. You need to
Yeah.
apply. You need to but you have to learn all these things along the way. And I kind of feel like, even though it took me so long to get to the space station, there were things that I had to learn along the way, maybe not about like the actual like technical aspects and things, but maybe about myself, maybe about being on a team, maybe, I don't know,
Okay.
but you don't give up on your dream is what I say. If it's really in you, you never know where you'll end up. And my biggest example of that is Sion Proctor, great friend who I never, she applied. I think we interviewed at the same time, but flying into space was her dream, and she made it. So I say never give up on your dream.
Never.
I made it, she made it, and you never know where you'll end up.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
You have to stick into it. And then, Janet, let's go to life after NASA. You retired from NASA in 2025 after 16 years. What does this next chapter looks like for you, and why he has mentoring the next generation become such a focus?
Well, one of the things that I've been enjoying is watching Mac Macaulay and I think he's on tonight. He
I
is,
think he is. Hey,
yeah.
Mac.
Hi, Mac. Um, I've been really enjoying seeing, there he is, how his dream is coming true in the UAE. But I see in his future that it's going to be so much bigger than that. And I want to make sure that he gets there. I want to be a part of that and helping him get there. And all these other students, like Janavi in India, students all over the world who are just amazing people who have this dream to see space, see it with their own eyes. And that is my dream. That's my goal, is to help other people and anyone who wants to get to space to get there. Because in this new age of space and
Yeah,
Artemis program, there's going to be so many more people going to space. And I'd like to be able to help them in any
beautiful.
way that I can. I mean, I've had 16 years at NASA. There was a saying before I left that no one's been trained more than Jeanette, because I've trained in Germany, Japan, Russia. In fact, the sign behind me is Vyozny, and this is Star City. This is a sign
Wow.
as you're going into Star City. They may not want me to show that, but it's my
Looks very
picture.
sci-fi.
So it one of the most beautiful things I did was all the training on the Soyuz, just beautiful. And I want other people to feel that and see that and get involved. There's nothing like being a part of something bigger than yourself, especially even helping people get to space. I remember being the Capcom helping with David and Anne McLean's spacewalk, and just being a part of that team was so amazing. So the more you can be a part of it, and then eventually likely be the person on the boots on the moon, boots on the station, is very cool. And that's my goal, is to help people get there.
I can not only hear about it, but I can feel it.
Good.
So it's beautiful for you to be having this vision and helping the rest of us who want to be there. And
Yeah.
thank you for being here today. You're just exactly doing that. And Jeanette, how many months or years happened when you were selected to your actual flight?
It was 15 years.
15
And
years?
yes, and let me tell you, so people always ask this question, but um, I was flying T-38 jets. I was Capcomming. I was scuba diving. I was training in Russia. I did language immersion in Russia. I had an amazing career. And no, it wasn't a straight line path. And there were some really cruddy things that happened. But if you had asked me before I flew, was it worth it? I probably would have said no. But after having flown, I can come back, and despite everything that happened, and there's a few people who know everything that happened, despite all of that, I could say it was still worth it.
Wow, I was not expecting that answer. That's a lot. That's
But
almost a lifetime. 15 years, it's a lot.
it was a great career, I'll tell you that.
Some
No
people
regret.
get like it's already been 2 years and I'm not getting selected and I'm not flying this year and something happened. But 15, that speaks a lot.
Patience and enjoy so it's never about the final place. It's always about that journey and learning. There's a huge journey in getting to that endpoint, and being patient
Yeah,
and understanding what that journey is and how you're growing and how you're learning about other people is
yeah.
one of the most important things you can do for yourself.
How's that journey? You get selected and then you graduate from the astronaut class.
Exactly.
That's, I don't think that takes 15 years, right? How many years does that
Few
take
years.
to
November 4th, 2011, we graduated.
2 years after you were selected from
Yep.
your application?
Yep.
Then you are graduated and you are an official astronaut just without the flight.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
And then you remain another 13 years being already an astronaut, just waiting to be flown.
Exactly. And what do
That's
you do in
impressive.
the meantime? You do all these analog missions
Uh huh.
and you do some pretty cool stuff. but it's still not flying. It's still not flying.
In all those years, you are an employee of NASA. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And traveling around the world, having all this training,
Yeah.
centrifuge training as well. Where did you
Oh
do
yeah.
that?
Oh yeah. I did the centrifuge training in Star City twice, and then I did the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base twice as well. I still hate it.
Wow. No.
Still hate it.
I got the opportunity to go to the one in Poland, the military aerospace medicine
Oh
place.
God,
It's
that's still
beautiful.
really very cool. Give me 1 sec. I'm still online.
Absolutely. Okay, good, good. And this one, let's go to the next one. What do you tell a student who has the ability, but not the traditional resume, the connections, or the typical path into this field?
So you always have to have with NASA, you always have to have a technical background, but um, I think it's changing a little bit. And working in the field and doing all the things that like Mac is doing and other people, um, you know, if it's your dream, as you start getting immersed in all of these things that are happening around space, you'll develop so much knowledge and capability around being a part of everything here. And it is space is for everyone. That's the thing that people have to realize. It's like it's not just for like the engineers and there. If you go to Johnson Space Center, we have flight controllers, we have flight directors, we have all kind of people who are involved in space in so many really important ways in contributing to the mission of space. So I would say you got to get involved. You got to start learning all the ways that you can be involved because there's so much work to be done. There's so much that's happening that every aspect of life, I think, going forward is going to be impacted by some aspect of going to space.
And talking about that optimism, what does the next decade of human spaceflight need more of, technically or in terms of the people doing the work?
I think, like you said, people doing the work, technical, there's so much. I mean, there's the 187 issues that NASA outlined that they need to solve in order to get people to have a permanent presence on the moon. And so, like medical to me is probably going to be one of the biggest things. And how do you get the human body to last longer outside of the Earth's protection? Materials for building structures on the moon. How do you use the regolith itself to build structures? How do you extract resources from the moon itself to use for either like water, for example? Take the ice, if you find the ice shackled at the Shackleton crater, how do you take the ice and separate it into hydrogen and oxygen? Use it for either oxygenating the habitat or making propellant to do a liftoff from the moon instead of from Earth. So there's a lot of work to be done. There's so many things.
Is that a document, the one that you mentioned?
Oh yeah, the 187. If you type in NASA's 187 issues, it should pop
Oh,
right up. Yeah.
good. Yeah, if somebody find it, please put it in the chat
Oh yeah.
so we can share it.
Oh,
Nice. I
I
didn't know about
probably
that
I
one.
think I have it on my laptop. But I can. If you don't get it tonight, I can send it to you tomorrow. I promise.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Promise. Yeah.
And then let's go to the last question before we open up for questions from the audience. If you were speaking directly to a young engineer at IIAS who dreams of flying one day, what's the one piece of advice you want to give them?
Um, Stay involved in space and mind the journey. There's a journey that they're going through, like the whole process. Stay involved, keep doing the work, applying, learning new things, working with people. Um, and I kind of say that, but I mean, really, that's kind of all I really did. I
Yes.
wasn't the political animal fighting for a mission and doing things. I really was just the person keeping my head down and coloring and just I just learned so much through all the analog missions that I was a part of. Um, uh, all the, training over and over again is never fun, but I just became the expert in different things. I mean, robotics was one amazing aspect of our mission.
Wow.
So you really be I mean, you gotta, what else are you gonna do with your time really while you're waiting for a mission? You're just busy learning the tradecraft and just busy immersing
Yes.
yourself in everything that has to do with your end goal.
Especially if you have 15 years.
Yes, exactly. I mean, think about the 15 years, how many times I had to fly and go do things.
Wow.
Um, I did language immersion in Russia, and that was probably the craziest thing I think of all the analog missions and things I did. It was amazing though. Oh, it was amazing. So
Actually, you came about when the space shuttle retired. Is
it,
that correct?
that is
Is
correct.
that why you went to Russia? But then you ended up flying in the Dragon capsule.
Yes, exactly. So originally, we graduated like right after the shuttle retired. So we knew that our class was slated, everyone should have flown on the Soyuz. And I was originally assigned to Expedition 56, 57. I did all the training in Star City, Russia. The Russians declared me the backup crew. Me, Sergei Prokopiev, and Alex Gers. We all were the backup crew, but I didn't fly with those guys, unfortunately.
Okay.
I was then assigned to the Boeing Starliner, and then subsequently to that, because the Starliner was
Yes.
it was going, but
Correct.
the Dragon all of a sudden pulled ahead, and I was on crew 5, but then we had Anna Kikina fly on there, and I ended up on crew 8.
I cannot imagine that, Janet. That must be very difficult. Nobody expected the space shuttle to retire. Nobody expected the Dragon to be readily available. Everyone was
Exactly.
criticizing SpaceX, even the Apollo astronauts. So it
Yes.
must be difficult. Like, I'm going to Russia. No, I'm going back to the US. I'm going to launch in the Soyuz. No, not anymore. I'm going on the Boeing. No, I'm going with SpaceX. So,
Uh,
wow. And then you need to learn all those systems, all those manuals. That probably takes months.
Well, and what I chalked it up to, and this is why I try to tell like even my nieces and nephews, I'm like, well, let's think of it as a learning opportunity. There's so much that to know and so much to do and to gain experience and
Yeah.
become an expert at that,
Wow.
I had to like take like 2 steps back, and it's not fun. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong. It was not easy.
I can
Not
imagine that. I
easy.
don't recall who was the astronaut, but I remember reading about somebody that could not apply because he was taller than the limit. He kept
For the
going.
Soyuz. Yeah.
He kept going with the thought that someday they were going to have another vehicle.
Yeah.
And then I believe the space shuttle came about. Who
Yes.
was that? Do you
So
know?
I can't remember who it couldn't have been Clay Anderson. I can't remember who
Uh-huh.
it was. But yeah, the shuttle accommodated I mean, so many tall people on the shuttle. But
Yeah.
for the Soyuz too, though, like Paulo Nespoli and Alex Gers on such tall guys in the Soyuz. I don't know
Wow.
how they managed it.
I think, Janet, that speaks a lot about a person. How can you keep going if the manual already says that nope, you will not fly because you don't fit, but you don't care and you kept going just by having some dream or hope
Well,
that
well,
another vehicle is coming.
Well, but see that is the power of a dream, and there's something in you that knows that you kind of have this feeling like you've already been there, you've already done
Yeah.
this, it's for you. You know what I mean? So I
Yes.
can't quite
Yes.
describe the feeling, but um, I mean, some people never get to that point, and I actually thought I would never, but I looked back and I said, oh my God, look at what I've done though. I mean,
Yes.
flown in the T-38, and I've got so many hours in there. I've learned how to do a spacewalk. I've learned
Yes.
the robotics. I've done these analog
Wow.
missions. I know all the systems aboard the International Space Station, and it would be a shame if I didn't get to fly. But okay,
Yes.
okay,
Wow. Many of those skills that you are talking about, we actually teach them here about in IIAS. And I wanted to hear your opinion about people that are actually having that dream of flight. What do you think about that and our institute about getting this together
oh,
for that?
well, Jason and I have had so many lovely. So Jason Remuller and I, Dr.
Yes.
Remuller, we've had so many lovely conversations, and I really do love what you guys are doing. And
Thank you.
it is so NASA does one thing, and you guys are doing really amazing work. to give people the experience of like training to become an astronaut and being ready and mentally prepared
Yes.
for it. That's one of the important things, being mentally prepared for what you're going to go through and experience. So no, I love what you guys are doing. And so one of the things about the training at NASA is that we train to a specific vehicle, be it a Soyuz, a Starliner, or a Dragon, or the Orion. You train to that vehicle, but then everything else surrounding that, is crucial for anyone who wants to go to space. You got to learn about the life support systems. You got to learn how to operate in an environment that wasn't designed for you, that was made for you though. And so
Correct.
how do you operate in that environment and work well on a team to accomplish the goals of that mission? And I think you guys do a great job of that. Um, and I think giving people that experience will help them understand what they're getting into when they sign up to be an astronaut. Being an astronaut is amazing, but space is always trying to kill you. So you have to understand how to work and operate in it. It's kind of like, I liken it to like scuba diving. Scuba diving is
Yes.
technical and it's very difficult. But once you know how to do it, you kind of like operate seamlessly and it looks like it's just fun. It doesn't look like you're doing anything, right? You're kind of just scuba diving. But you can actually die if you ascend too fast.
Correct.
I mean, all kind of things can actually happen to you if you do something wrong, incorrect,
Correct.
scuba diving. It's the same with space.
It's
So
beautiful. Thank you so much for your kind words, Janet. I think it's very important, and actually, you get related with the kind of people that are just in love with the same thing. So many people, which are the colleagues that we get to meet here. Just as I met Dr. Ray Mueller, just as I met Mac McCaway, I got the opportunity to go with him to some other beautiful scenarios and analog missions in Wadi Rum, Jordan, the pool that you actually got to go with him as well in Dubai,
yes,
the deep dive Dubai, which is beautiful, and you actually put in your entire work there to put that submersible satellite. So it's just impressive.
yeah,
Thank you very much, Janet. I think I am very hopeful about the future. I just moved to the Space Coast, where we have one of our laboratories here in Melbourne, Florida, and it's beautiful to see that a lot of launch vehicles are coming online to Cape Canaveral. More than 5 different vehicles. They are now building their launch towers, and it's a great feature that we are living in right now. Private companies are getting into this space flight, and it's impressive. It's beautiful. Hopefully we can have different launch vehicles and capsules, human capsules, and a lot of us can fly aboard those.
yes. I'm
Let's
I am hopeful too. Very hopeful.
Thank you, Janet. This was a beautiful conversation. I have one last question from Haley. How does one handle really bad motion sickness throughout this journey? Can it be a disqualification?
No, no. So everyone gets motion sickness because think about it. You launch, you're going at escape velocity. So that everyone experiences it. It's just different levels. Um, on my mission, I was in a part of a study that was looking at nasal scopolamine as a means to help mitigate some of the motion sickness. And it does work. At least when I got to the station, I wasn't puking or anything. I had a headache, but that could have been from the fluid shift. So
Yeah.
there's different ways to handle motion sickness. And plus, when you come on board as an astronaut and you start flying in a T-38, initially, a lot of people have motion sickness in the T-38 jet. That's why they have the emesis bags in the jet with you. And so you kind of, get used to it. And it's like, okay, well, if I have to puke, I have to puke. And so
Yeah.
be it. It's just a natural response from your body because you're moving so fast. There's no shame, and accepting it is half the battle.
Good. Good,
Yeah.
good, good. Some people say that you can actually train about putting yourself like in 20 degrees in your bed like that, so
Uh-huh.
your fluid shift goes to your head. Does that feel the same?
Well, so I never did that, so I don't
Okay,
know, but I did have a fluid shift, and that caused a headache. I took Tylenol, and I was okay
good.
for a little while, and your body really does adapt to space. So, like the first week, you have to give yourself some grace, and just say, hey, it's worth it. When you look out the window,
Yeah.
you're like, it's worth it.
I think it
I
was.
wouldn't want to miss this.
Yeah, I think it was under the Scott Kelly's book Endurance that he mentioned what some colleagues felt in space versus flying aircraft, military aircraft, and a lot of people that were good in those type of aircraft were very bad in space, and vice versa. So it
Well,
was very interesting to see that.
I think it's a level of control. I think when the front seaters fly in the jet, they're fine. The back seater could be puking their brains out, but then when the
Yes.
back seater takes over, they may not be okay. So I think it's
Yeah.
a measure of like when you can control the situation too. It's so
Yeah.
it is part mental. So
I can tell, but yeah, I think it gives some people hope that to read that or to witness that from an astronaut perspective about people that are having those difficulties here tend to be good in space. I mean, nobody. It's always. I guess it's a flip coin,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Nobody
It's
gets prepared.
you never know who it's gonna be. Never ever. Trust me on this. I will never ever divulge anyone's information. You would never guess who it's gonna be ever.
And Janet, is it true that it takes about 72 hours to start feeling better, or some people are just like sick all those
No,
months
I
in
think that's a
space?
good. I think 72 hours is perfect because it's just like when you return to get your inner ear back. It's about the same. Two
Okay.
days, 2 to 3 days at most. Yeah,
Understood.
yeah.
And Haley, we also already responded to your question. Thank you for being here. She says that she tried to turn the camera on.
No problem.
Unfortunately, something happened. But Dr. Janet, this was a very beautiful conversation. I can see the beautiful soul that you have.
What time did you
Unfortunately,
say?
time came. It's already 1
Oh
hour
no,
and
it's
25
almost
minutes.
8:30. Oh wow. Okay.
This has been the longest, which I am
You
giving
are
you
the
an,
fastest though, right?
yeah, this is an open request for you to come back someday, maybe in next year, maybe. We love to host you again, or maybe in person. You never know,
Yes.
right?
You never
But this
know.
was a very beautiful conversation. Thank you very much for your time.
My
Thank you so
pleasure.
much for doing what you're doing already, being a retiree and putting your own free time to these type of conversations. It's just beautiful. It
It's
speaks
my
a lot
pleasure.
about you, and it's beautiful. So thank you for helping a lot of us to follow, keep doing our dreams.
Well, yes, please don't ever stop following your dream. That's all I can say. Just keep pushing forward, please.
Thank you, Dr. Janet. You have a
Pleasure.
beautiful rest of your night.
You too. Thank you guys. My pleasure.